Kia ora everyone, as usual for me here in the December period, I like to cover sets that released earlier in the year in preparations for those holiday sales that are going to come through. And about a month or so ago, I bought these two Avengers sets which I thought would pair really well together. The first set there being the Leviathan, which has been covered on this channel already, and now today we're taking a look at the Quinjet remake. It was at this point of writing the scripts that I realized that this set actually released last year in 2023, not this year. So consider this a pre-retirement video for all those who are still on the fence about this set like I was. This here is set 76248, the Avengers Quinjet, which released January 1st, 2023. This acts as a remake of the Quinjet that released in 2012. I do show a little bit more of a comparison between those two sets in that video review. If you want to see my thoughts on that classic release, you can click right here for that video. 795 pieces and 5 minifigures here in total, retailing for 100 USD before tax, but here in NZ we pay about 160 NZD, which I believe was the same price that 2012 set released at, before you account for inflation. Now, at the time, funnily enough, about 1 year ago, 4 of the 5 figures here were considered to be exclusive. Now, only one of these guys remains. The Loki, Captain America, and Iron Man figures all appeared in the Avengers Tower set, which released just 10 months after this set released last year. Thor was previously released already in a different set, so only Black Widow of all people here is exclusive, but to me, she looks like just about every other Black Widow figure I have in my collection. The set overview today here is a remake model of the Quinjet, which LEGO have adapted multiple times now, though each remake does genuinely feel pretty separate and unique from the last. I think this model here is intended for the adult collector and is proposed as being the best of the best here. The military vehicle here looks pretty solid actually for the modern approach that LEGO takes to making their models. I will say right off the bat that I don't love that shaping that we see. The original one I think makes use of its bulky square-like shaping more, whereas this one to me feels a bit more lengthy as a rectangle-like build. The official artwork on the box looks incredible to me, and that's what sold me on this design once this was revealed, but it kinda looks like you need to see it from a very certain angle in order to get that ideal shaping. Like I said though, this does adopt a new type of build method from the set designers, and now we have a much more advanced model with some interesting techniques that weren't available back in 2012. I can already tell that there are some obvious highlights here compared to the first release too, because for one thing, the back door here actually opens up to show off some solid interior space, because on this model here we don't have the inside all sectioned off like in the previous set. We fit a lot of minifigures here inside this one. And there's an interesting note that I love from the designer themselves. I've mentioned before on the channel. The idea here was that they needed to change the windscreen color because whatever it used to look like appeared to look a bit too military for LEGO standards, despite being based on a military vehicle in universe. But I do really like this change, even though I am a stickler for the accuracy. To me, cartoon-like blue windscreens are much more appealing in toy form than a dull colored grey. But speaking of dull grey, prepare to build something with many monotonous colors. It's the downside of military vehicles, especially within the MCU. That cockpit there is the first interesting section of the build. There's a lot of moving parts up here, but the only section that's accessible is the door that opens above. These side window pieces are here just for show. The inside does feature some stickers and some seats on the floor for the poor pilots. The stickers here use control panel-like designs. The set is absolutely loaded with stickers. Here on the side we can see the shield logo that's then repeated up here on the wing, and plus some extra details here and there. My favorite, I guess, being this massive chunk here by the moving panel for accessing the interior space. Interesting sticker designs that I don't think you see outside the superheroes line. Another cool sticker are these half-made shield logos here, which appear on both wings as you can see, along with even more shield-like imagery, but I think I've shown off just how far the sticker usage goes on this rather medium-scaled set. But here's the twist. The set does actually include 2 different sticker sheets, an A side and a B side, where the stickers are the exact same, except the shield printing is replaced by Avengers logo printing. I feel like this choice here is the clear distinction between a toy demographic and a display item demographic. If you want this LEGO toy to be a fun toy, you can go for the Avengers logo, it'll pop more on your display, but if you want an accurate vehicle from the movie, you obviously want to steer clear from that Avengers logo. I will say, I do find it annoying that you can't just swap these around with one another. Stickers aren't something that you can freely change, so once you make your choice, you're committed for the long haul. I would have loved to have seen some extra replacement parts here for the toy so that you can change it on a whim based on whatever you're feeling on the day, because some of these stickers on both A side and B side, they're actually the same as each other. The wings here have some moving parts, just to make the design look a bit more aesthetically pleasing. We have things like curves here, and the bends in the lower wing for when the ship is no longer in flight mode. Underneath we have a dish piece here, which was a part that was completely overlooked in the original release, so it's cool to see it here. I think that this kind of decision makes use for the remake idea. You can rotate this thing around a little, get a bit of movement, but nothing too major. The way that they have this part of the wing in a curved motion is through these bendy connectors. It just sits in place like so. Looks very pleasing and it is fun to build. We have a backdoor section here, which is just one of two ways to enter the vehicle. Some weapon racks there which feature accessories of handcuffs, a walkie-talkie, wrench, and binoculars. To enter the vehicle in the other way, we lift this bay door here at the top of the build. There's lots of room inside for the figures, though there's not too much to do in here besides sitting down. 6 chairs in total, which is more than what's needed for the set here specifically. I'll lift the vehicle off of the display stand here, so to show off the wheels. We have 2 builds at the back there which are built on Technic pegs, so they do have some really good motions towards them. The front section there has just one wheel, and it's your standard one used for many planes in the LEGO City line. These get the job done well enough, but the builds are different here compared to the previous model. That previous one featured front wheels on a swivel, so it made movement so much more simpler to play around with. It's not really the case here. These front wheels are a stationary build, so lefts and rights are a lot harder to get through now. The build also has a chain gun at the front, which somewhat interferes with the wheels. Ideally, your wheels are going to be up when the Avengers are shooting that gun. And then we have the flight stand, which is an interesting build inclusion so that you can actually have your flying vehicle on your display in flight mode. It's something I found LEGO to become increasingly more well aware of as the years have gone on, and something that I've really appreciated from them personally speaking. It's a very simple build and that's all it needs to be. There's a squared off tip for placement there with a couple of feet to keep it sturdy. It is a very sturdy build. The Quinjet there has an exposed area underneath which just fits on like so, and now we have our display. This would have increased the price, I know, but I would have loved to have seen a bit more dynamics put into the display here. Something with some movement, maybe some rotations or something to really help make your display shine, but that's something that you can do with modifications at home. I'm not sure if it's intentional either, but there are options for standing room space down below for your minifigures. Happy accident or not, it's pretty cool to see. Worth noting then that the original set did not include a stand, but it did include Loki's chariot, which for me helped improve that set immensely. It's disappointing to see yet another LEGO remake of an older set skimp out on everything included in the original, but that also shouldn't be surprising by today's standards. Loki's chariot instead was included in the Avengers Tower set, which again released later on just 10 months after this set. The minifigures here were the most appealing selection at the time of release. It is still a pretty good selection for the average buyer because this option here is a lot more affordable for many than the Avengers Tower set, but I do feel a little disappointed in some of these minifigures. First up here is Iron Man. It was a brand new design for the Mark 7 armor, and it's using that newer molding for the helmet piece, which I believe has been around for a couple of years now. Some people still really don't like it. I am personally a fan of this piece, and I do really love the extra details on the printing there quite a bit. You can flip the helmet to reveal the Tony Stark expression, which is the classic in-character smirk that's standard with the guy. He actually does include an optional hairpiece, which is nice to see. Tony in sets frequently uses different hairpieces, so it's always nice to have some options there. Double-sided expression features Tony with the visor look. It was an interesting idea and unique to a lot of Iron Man figures, but it does look better with the helmet on and that visor up. A quick comparison here to the 2012 release figure, just to show you how far this toy line has come over the 10 years of product releases. The printing is extreme, and it wasn't really until comparing the two in person that I noticed just how different those helmets really look. Iron Man also includes this display piece for some flight dynamics. You're able to equip this to the wing, which means Iron Man doesn't have to be placed inside the vehicle. Unfortunately, Thor doesn't have the same key idea included, which is genuinely a shame because only one figure here can fly alongside the vehicle. Next up is Captain America. This is the same figure that released in the Leviathan set that I covered on this channel already. In that video, I basically said that I haven't personally been a fan of any of the Captain America LEGO figures that they've produced, despite being a huge fan of Captain America himself. Maybe I have some unreasonably high expectations given my fan bias for that character, but this was a figure I was really excited for seeing, and unfortunately I'm not a fan of the final product here. I'll basically echo my same statements from the Leviathan set. The colors here are just too dark for me. His outfits from the first movies offer a lot more brighter tones compared to the Age of Ultron appearance and onward. LEGO have added a little bit of brighter colors here, but not nearly enough to satisfy me. Captain America is also very minimal on the printing here. There's nothing for his arms or or his legs, but the worst offender is always that face print. They've begun to occasionally print Steve's face on these darker colored heads, in this case a dark blue for some reason, so the flesh tone comes off as a pale color. It's just incredibly ugly to me, and I feel like such a chump when I've spent money on poor quality products like this. I find it unnecessary to print his face on darker heads like this, and in general this should have been a problem fixed years ago before anything ever reached store shelves. I really hate the look of this figure, and the reason I feel so passionate about this is because LEGO are just lying to you all. They've got this advertised on the official box art, and this is the image that they are trying to sell. It's blatantly false advertising to me, and I can't imagine why we're still okay with this. Now, compared to his first release, I really stand by my view that they've never nailed Captain America for the movies yet. Captain America has been regularly dealt a bad hand by LEGO, and I really hope to see something change in the future. This here is Black Widow, who is just the same old generic Black Widow figure. The reason I learned that she's exclusive here is because she doesn't feature leg printing. Black Widow would be released in the Leviathan set, and that figure included leg printing, but it's a reuse from the Avengers Tower set. So the Avengers Tower Black Widow figure is the exact same one that you see on screen here, but she's got leg printing. So that means as it currently stands, living in a retrospective world, this here is the worst version of this figure because she's lacking the extra printing that she would get in the future. I am usually an accuracy stickler for minifigures, so the inclusion of her batons that she uses in the sequels is a little tiring for me. It feels like a lazy grab from a different unrelated set, but I don't think this sort of deal bothers the masses like it does myself. Black Widow has been released a lot over the years, and I've just kind of grown to become really tired of this figure. It's the same face and the same hairpiece every time. Their face has been used in 30 sets in total. It's the Jyn Erso, Padme Amidala, and Hermione face, and so every time LEGO makes a figure based on any of these women, they use the exact same head in every single release. LEGO made one woman face and they've used it for every single one of these mass release figures. It's very lazy in my eyes, and I think Black Widow is due for something new and fresh. A quick comparison here for the first release. That first one is a very scary, horrific minifigure, so anything would have been an improvement over this one. Compared to that original figure, yeah, this one is amazing, truly. Thor here is the exact same one from a previously released Thor's hammer set. The hammer that I was told is based around the design from 2011, which makes sense to me. It looks like a decent figure from that movie. I'm sorry to let people down here again, but it's another miss for me. Thor's 2012 figures in my eyes were really great comic figures, but bad movie adaptation figures. Thor and Black Widow are the more lazy inclusions from the LEGO team, lots of repeats across many sets, and they don't match the accuracy of their movies being depicted. It's a new figure for me here, which is nice, but this should have been a brand new, fresher design. He features the original fabric cape, which has since been changed for a couple of figures in the modern day. Thor himself actually now sporting this rubber plasticky cape, so we'll see how far these fabric capes remain in the new year. He's got printing on the back there and some lightning for his eyes too. Compared to the original one, the best part of him are those bright colors, which matches the movie, and the newer one just doesn't have that. The hairpiece should be a lot brighter, ideally a new hairpiece to match the movie. The beard is just too much for me, and the body detail doesn't have that nice navy blue color scheme as seen in the movie. Instead, it's just all black here. Thor just isn't really anything special for me personally. And then we have Loki here, who sees the biggest upgrade from all of the original 2012 releases. It just looks incredible. That minifigure released in a few sets though, the Avengers Tower, and I believe it's the same one in the Leviathan set, besides the cape, which in that set features the rubber plastic type instead of the soft goods here. The best difference with this one compared to that Leviathan release is the extra hairpiece that's included, so you get to show off his expressions more. That gunmetal grey look for the outfit is better than the straight dull colours from the original, and it better matches the source material. He features a double-sided expression of when he's sent to the Sky Jail. I will say that his staff is a big downgrade compared to the special design of using Ninjago weapons and combining them in the original. This is the Lord of the Rings elf sword. It's fine, but the other option offered a bit more variety for me. The box art here shows the Quinjet in hot pursuit chasing after Loki. Again, I wish Thor had something special here for flying alongside Tony, and I think that the lack of a chariot is a big miss as well. The other side of the box then shows the Quinjet parked up on that stand, and the minifigures below are just doing their thing. The box does show the play features, which I believe were all covered in this video. The instructions here, it's just one manual, which is always nice to see, and you can see immediately at the start that you have to make that choice on which stickers to use, because it does say if you want the accurate ones, you're going to need to use the online instructions. That's really annoying for me. I don't know about you, but I personally hate using the online instructions, but from this point on, it is a standard building process. The back there shows us the build all set up, followed by the inventory list, but nothing to promote other sets, and then we have the winning figure at the very end. I mentioned that the reason why I bought this was for pairing it up alongside the Leviathan set, which I thought at the time would be a lot bigger, so I was really excited to see the two compared side by side. And so these are the two sets together, and now that I see it in person, I really wish I skipped that Leviathan set. Scale-wise in the movies, I believe these two should be swapped. Hulk for scale here fits on the roof of the Quinjet like so, and that's exactly how he should be looking on the Leviathan build. The scale is just way too off for these two sets, and I can't imagine the Leviathan wasn't designed as a response to this set. Why else would this one have released? I can't really recommend the two sets together then for that reason alone, but the Leviathan did release after the Quinjet. It's not the Quinjet's fault that this set is just so poorly scaled in its size. As its own thing, I think it's pretty cool. I think we can recommend this one. Compared to the previous 2012 model, which this set was a reimagining of, we do miss that chariot, and that is a big deal for me. This new one does feature more pieces to really emphasize the details, and I think all of that works pretty well here for the most detailed Quinjet build that we've had so far. It's also interesting to see how this is the cheapest between the two sets, given the original's price was $160 at release, and this one is too, but you gotta account for inflation with these things. I'm not sold on these minifigures personally, but I could very well be alone there. I think many will be happy getting so many core members of the Avengers. I just expected a bit more here, and I am let down from my own expectations. Still, I think that the Quinjet is a build that many adult fans want for their displays. I really wanted that endgame one, but I just couldn't do it at the time, so I've been trying to grab one ever since. This one here is probably the best one released, as much as I love that 2012 set. If you enjoyed this look at a LEGO Marvel Avengers set, liking this video here and subscribing to the channel does help to support more videos like this one in the future. Thank you very much for watching everyone, ka kite anō. I do hope to see you all next time.